better mic quality. Finally got an actually decent mic, so hopefully I don't sound like I'm in a basement anymore. Not like it really mattered. HxH. Probably one of the most talked about out there. I don't really see why it's not one of the big three. I really loved it, watching it, and the only reason I'm bringing it up today is for a few reasons. One, because recently, I'm sure everybody's heard about this, but the author's finally making a return and making a few new chapters for the manga, which everybody's kind of psyched about. And I'm also bringing this up because I think Hunter x Hunter is the anime that everyone should start off with when they first start watching things. It doesn't necessarily provide anything special alongside other shows, and I think that there are better ones out there. But Hunter x Hunter is truly one of the greatest because it has a very good power system. First off, with Nen and Yen. Nen? I don't remember. But alongside that, it's pretty simple to understand with all the different types of powers there are. And honestly, I'd need a refresher to remember. And it does get a little complicated, but it's not. At surface level, it's pretty simple. Now, frankly, it's not. The reason I would recommend this as a beginning anime is because, frankly, you get a dose of everything. From overdramatic moments to very good characters and very good fights. Now, obviously, there are some downsides to the show. There's very boring parts. But regardless, there are, as boring as some of it is, I mean, it gets really boring. Like, there's one episode in particular during one of the last arcs that it's an entire episode that actually takes place in only like 3 or 4 seconds, but it's in such slow motion and there's so much flashbacks and dialogue that it takes an entire episode. But that aside, there are genuinely good episodes, and I think that especially the first major arc, the Hunter exams arc, I don't think that there's a single bad episode in it. It gets slow at times, but I don't think it has any bad episodes, and it has extremely good fights. It does have its slower moments, like there's one part of an episode where they're just waiting for 50 hours to end, but even that's interesting because you get some good character development between Killua and Gon. And that's actually my next point. Killua and Gon are some of the greatest characters in almost any show I've ever seen. Gon himself is a sort of lonely island boy who just wants to see his father, and when he sees his father, he just wants to be a good friend to his other friends. And Killua just wants to mainly sort of break away from his family legacy of just being assassins, and he wants to be good friends and sort of a good person. And those are just, I think, as average sort of characters as those are, because obviously we've never seen edgy white-haired characters before. I still think overall extremely entertaining to watch them grow as a friend duo, especially with the other two in their group. Leorio is a little bit slower of a character, but he's still a very good sort of passive main character, I guess you could say. He goes away for large chunks to train as a doctor. I don't know why, maybe it helps out later in the manga, but I still think very good. And Kurapika is one of my favorite characters, mainly because of his powers, which makes for very good fights, him being a chain user. And I also do like the idea of, I think it was called Crimson Eyes. I don't remember, I'll look it up as I'm mentioning, but I think it's a very good sort of passive thing to help show some of his true colors, especially during the York New arc. He had some very cold moments with him. But overall, those four make a very good cast. Although there were parts, I gotta say, there's an entire arc, the Greed Island arc, that I think is almost completely skippable. I really didn't like much in it. The really biggest thing that came out of that arc was Gon and Killua learning how to use Nen. But other than that, it was just really slow, and none of it really mattered because it was all a video game, kind of, because it also happened in the real world, kind of. It's complicated if you've never seen it, but overall, a good cast with good other characters, with a good story. it all makes for an extremely entertaining sort of series. And I mean, the music of this, come on now, let's take another moment for that. With all this combined, it makes her very partially generic. It does stand out, and even as an experienced anime watcher, if you can even call it that, I still enjoyed it. But I think if this had been my first anime, I think I really would have loved it. Again, as generic as it is, and it kind of doesn't really fit under just one roof, I'd say it's very close in comparison to shows like maybe Naruto or whatnot. But as simple and as kind of uncomplex as some things are about it, and even as boring as other parts are, it really does make for a sort of list topper. I know a lot of people call it their favorite. It's really not mine, because again, it is kind of generic and boring at certain parts, but first time watching it is truly breathtaking at certain parts. And now, all of that aside, is it going to get a new season with this new manga? Probably not. The anime ended in around 2014. The last piece of manga that was published by him before his comeback was in 2016, 2017-ish, before his break due to health issues. I don't expect there to be more. I don't really see why they wouldn't, because like I said, anybody who watches Hunter x Hunter usually puts it on the top of their list. I know a lot of people love it, so I'm sure, I don't really see why the studio, I forget who owns it, wouldn't make a new few arcs of it. But I don't think it's a lack of content with the manga, because even before his break, there was still quite a few arcs and whatnot, just in the manga. But all there is to say, it probably won't get a comeback, at least not for a very long time. I mean, I'll probably be dead by the time it ever gets a new anime adaptation, but honestly, all that aside, even though it is unfinished, it was still truly a masterpiece to watch, and for anyone who hasn't watched it and needs a good first anime, Hunter x Hunter really takes the cake. And that's about it. See ya.